All right, webcasting. Now, a lot of the chapels in the cemeteries do have the facility to actually video the actual service for you. What they will do is they will give you a link for a website that your guests who are at home can actually tune into with a specific code, and they can see live the actual service. And again, I think this is really good because it isn't available with the burials for the vast majority. I am working with our media consultant to see if we can do webcasting at the graveside, and that's something that's in development, but it actually exists at this moment in time for a cremation. So that's useful for you as well. Now we come to some of the things that make it much more stringent. And the first one is the numbers that can attend. So again, with the Afro-Caribbean fraternity, as I said before on the last video that we've done, the largest funeral we did was just under 900. We're getting restrictions now that are anywhere from 10 to 20, and it's more like the 10. Only 10 people can attend the service. So even though you've got a service in the chapel, they will only allow 10 people to attend. And those 10 people need to implement the social distancing. So that brings in the 2 meters or 6 feet away from each person. Again, this is to keep everybody safe. This is a virus that we still have not got a handle on. We don't exactly know what it does, but what we do know it does, unfortunately, is it will kill. So what the cemeteries and the government and us as funeral operatives are trying to do is to keep all of our people safe. So you still will have to maintain the 2 meter distancing. Don't think that we can go there with a larger number, because they are in place to turn larger numbers away. It's a difficult time as it is already. We don't want to make it any more difficult with anything being the center point than saying goodbye to your loved one on that day. Crematoriums will need to know the cause of death. Now, this is something I'm a little surprised at, I've got to be quite honest, because I'm finding that clients are very reticent to tell me how their person passed, particularly if coronavirus was in place. This is something that we have no control over. It is something that's happening worldwide. It is something that is affecting every creed, every race. So there is no shame in saying your person died of corona. But what we need to know about that for is if your person died at home, we will have to come and collect them. What we need to do is ensure that our ambulance people are safe, so they're suitably dressed. We need to ensure that we take the person away with dignity, and we need to ensure that you at home are safe as well. So we will ask this question, and we will implore you, give us an honest answer, because if not, we're putting all of ourselves in danger. We're then going to see you. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we won't be doing any face-to-face appointments, but we've put in place video conferencing, which is great because, again, where the elderly have got to stay in for 12 weeks, you know, if I think of my mother, when my mum passed away, my dad would not have wanted us to plan that funeral without him being involved. If this had been in place when we were planning mum's funeral, we could have actually had the computer there with us. Dad could have then sat in. He could have seen me. He wouldn't have seen me. He would have seen whoever the funeral director was. But he could have been fully involved in that meeting as if you were able to come out. So this is a thing to think about with the video conferencing. We will send you information about all the services that you will need beforehand. We will send you a link that's really easy for you to get in contact with us and join the video conferencing, and everything can be planned from there. All right. Again, with the cremation, the good news is the waiting time to book a cremation slot now is only 10 to sort of 15 days, if that, because there are so many slots per day. With the cemeteries, we're waiting, as I said, up to 4 weeks, and that is going to get longer and longer. And there's nothing that we can do about that. So again, this is an option to maybe open our minds and have a look at. Previously, some of the funeral directors would want you to deliver the paperwork, some of your families to deliver this directly to the crematorium yourself. But this option has now been removed, and all paperwork will need to be delivered by funeral directors. It's getting to the situation whereby what they want all paperwork delivered is digitally. They actually don't even want us coming and dropping it in. So just be aware of that. But again, for families, I think this is good news. I don't think this is something you should have ever done, really. You've employed a funeral director. Let us take that work away from you. There's going to be on coffins, which are primarily used for cremation, you're going to have a smaller pool to choose from. Still really nice coffins, but whereas before we'd show you books upon books upon books, from the coffin maker's point of view, with the demand, what they've had to say is they're going to give us a smaller option but make more of them. So again, be prepared for that, but there's still some really lovely coffins that you can choose for your loved one for their day. Another area that is changing is the number of flowers that families actually supply with their actual funerals. So our thumb of rule on this is make it a sensible amount. Cremations traditionally never had as many flowers as burials because you're not covering a grave, but nevertheless it was an expression of love and still remains so. But we just say, just be sensible with your flowers. All right, we've got our own florist here, so that helps, and we will actually talk to each of the crematoriums to find out what their ruling is and what their view is regarding the flowers, and then we'll advise you accordingly. But I'm sure your funeral director, if you're not using ourselves, will do exactly the same. Okay, all right, so horse and carriage. Horse and carriage is an area that needs to be looked at with flowers. We don't think of it, we think of the beauty of the horses and the carriage, and yes, all that's fine. But there is limited space in the horse and carriage for flowers. If you have a day that the weather is not good, then we can't put them on the top. So again, if you're looking at a horse and carriage for your loved one, be mindful that we'll only be able to get a certain number of flowers in there. But we can book you a floral hearse as well. I've got to be honest though, with the way that things are going, it's not going to be something that we would say to you to do. All right? Huge change, people. Sadly, no limousines now, which means that all family members will have to follow the hearse or the horse and carriage in their own cars. Likewise, when we get to the crematorium, the waiting rooms are being withdrawn. Again, this is all about the social distancing, all about keeping you safe. So in a lot of instances, they're going to ask you to wait in your car until they get everything prepared, till they get your loved one out of the hearse, until they make sure the chapel is ready before you then can go into the chapel and have the service. All right? There'll be no hymn books, you'll find, when you actually go into the chapels now. We can actually, and we have been doing for some time, print you up some hymn sheets that you can use. But again, to help minimize this virus, everything that we take in, we must take out, and we must make sure they're sanitized. So whereas before we were giving you the laminated booklets, it will be just sheets so that you can sing your hymns and you can actually follow what's happening in the service. Weekend services were available and were very popular, particularly amongst our African communities, but they are now being withdrawn. So for the foreseeable future, there are no weekend services. Services will only be from Monday to Friday. Likewise, once the cremation has taken place, we would before have family members who would want to go and collect the ashes. Two things have changed there. For a lot of the crematoriums, they will not allow family members to collect ashes. It will have to be collected by your funeral director. But nor are many of them allowing you to have a separate urn to the one that they actually provide at this time. I think, again, it's just a timing. What happens is they have their own urns and they can do those. But if you're bringing in your urns and maybe you've got 3 or 4 that you want for different family members, that again is time that they don't have at this moment in time. So again, for the foreseeable future, we won't be offering you an urn service. We will just be utilising the urns that are given to us by the crematorium. Pallbearing, where we would carry our loved ones to their designated last resting place. Again, because we can't have you 6 meters apart, pallbearing is 99% being removed now. And so you can happily follow your loved one, as has been the case in a lot of cases where they're taken in on wheels, but sadly pallbearing will not be allowed. All right. Difficult times, but as I said, all we want to do is to keep you safe. We are here if you've got any questions, if you're unsure of anything or concerned. You'll see our number going across the bottom, and at the end of this video there will be a sheet that will have our number on it. If you want to come and see us, then give us a call. We'll book you in an appointment. As said, primarily over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a video appointment because our offices are going to be closed for most of the week. But you can get me on any of the numbers and the rest of the staff. We'll answer any questions that you've got. In the meantime, keep safe, and we're here if you need us. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.